daily dose of comedy.
Donald Trump, when he had his physical, they had his blood pressure, and mine is higher than his. Oh. And the irony is mine is higher because of him.
From the Blue Wave.
We flipped. Enough seats to take control of the House. We control the House.
To 2020 and beyond. This is the Dean Obeidallah Show on Sirius XM Progress, Channel 127.
And welcome to the show, brothers and sisters. Dean Obeidallah here. We're live Monday, March 9th. As always, coronavirus or not, I am here to be your MBFF. I am there for you. And I hope you're there for me. On Twitter, at least, at Dean Obeidallah. Or watch the monologue. Engage Trump supporters. Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. I hope you had a good weekend. Obviously, the news is serious we're going through right now. I was on Joy Reid's show Saturday, and I'm glad some listeners saw it because they posted things and said comments to me, which was nice. And if you want to post comments, again, Facebook.com/Dean of Radio. I spent the weekend doing shots of Purell, and my new cologne is called Bleach. It's great. It's for that smell that when you want to have people socially distancing themselves from you, use bleach. That's what I use. I actually like social distancing. I have problems, I think, with closeness of people. Too close? Now no one's going to. But, look, I want to talk about, as I've been doing the last few shows, talk about the facts of what we know now regarding the coronavirus. Then we'll get into the politics of it and Donald Trump later. We are a political show. So I want to talk the intersection of both. But in the first part here, I want to talk about what we've learned over the weekend and especially today in regards to the coronavirus. Not to sugarcoat it, but not to make it scarier than it is. And I think that, for me at least, learning more facts around this virus makes it less scary. Not like you should not protect yourself and your family. Of course you should. And you should be prepared for what might happen. We're not sure where this is going. But at the same time, I get a sense from friends and even me at times, I felt a sense of almost like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? I have to be blunt. I'm not worried about getting the virus at all. It doesn't mean I might get it. I live in New York City. It's very crowded, but I'm not worried. Thankfully, I'm not of the health level where it's a risk for myself, but I'm worried for others. I'm worried for my mom. I'm worried for friends, family members, loved ones, and I'm sure you are as well. And I don't think the panic helps that. Even the slight panic. I don't think any of us are actually panicking and screaming about that. It's more like a growing anxiety underneath the surface that you can feel. I don't know about you. I can feel when I have the stress level go up a little and that it just stays at a higher level than normal. I'm already set like at a 7.5. So like I'm at an 8. I'm like, oh, this isn't good. So let's talk about some of the truth here. Absolute facts. There'll be no politics in the beginning of this. I want people to know where we are and what's going on. First, I want to play a clip from the World Health Organization press conference just a short time ago. The doctor, he's the Director General, Tedros, his last name I can't pronounce. But here he is updating where we are just a couple of hours ago. This is on a world level, and I think it's important that you look at this from a global point of view because viruses are like air, and they are traveling, and we're seeing that. So here's the head of the World Health Organization. Clip number 1, please, Nina.
As you know, over the weekend, we crossed 100,000 reported cases of COVID-19 in 100 cases. It's certainly troubling that so many people and countries have been affected so quickly. Now that the virus has a foothold in so many countries, the threat of a pandemic has become very real. But it would be the first pandemic in history that could be controlled. The bottom line is we're not at the mercy of the virus. The great advantage we have is that the decisions we all make as governments, businesses, communities, families, and individuals can influence the trajectory of this epidemic. We need to remember that with decisive early action, we can slow down the virus and prevent infections. Among those who are infected, most will recover.
And that's good to hear. Most will recover. And I'm going to go through some of the statistics and facts and show you why this is not the flu, but at the same time, it is flu-like. And when he mentioned pandemic, that's a term that is defined by the World Health Organization. A pandemic is when you have a novel or new influenza that infects people easily, and it spreads from person to person in an efficient and sustained way. I'm looking at the very definition of it. And it goes not globally, but essentially globally. And we've had one in recent times. 2009, we had a formal pandemic. It was the H1N1 virus. I'm sure everyone remembers that. You might not recall 12,500 Americans died as a result of that pandemic. So when you hear pandemic, it's not end of times. It's not the Old Testament come to life. It is a bad time. Many got sick, and sadly, 12,500 of our fellow Americans died. So it seems we're on the verge of this pandemic. And again, that doesn't mean, I know pan in it sounds like panic. That's not what it is. It's pan, obviously more like Latin, that it's kind of spanning different areas, and the demic part, you all get that. That's like for epidemic, it's spreading. What we do know now, short time ago, breaking news right before I came on air, the country of Italy, which over the weekend had declared an emergency and put a quarantine on 16 million Italians living in the northern part of the country, which already was shocking, has just expanded that nationwide. They are now quarantining 60 million Italians. They've had a death rate close to 500 people have died. They've had big jumps in the amount of people getting sick. What we know in America now, just a quick update just happened. They updated now. We are at least 690 cases in the U.S. confirmed, 26 dead in at least 34 states. There's going to be a press conference shortly. Those numbers might change. To remind you, on February 26th, there was a press conference and there were 15 people infected at that time in America. We are now at 690 in about 11, 12 days. This is not the flu, but this is not the bubonic plague either. Just so it's clear for everyone. This is not the Black Death, but this is not the flu. And it's somewhere in between. And that's the spectrum there. It goes from one to the other. The flu versus something as horrific as the bubonic plague. Both are killers. There's no doubt about it. The flu, to give you some perspective, according to the Center for Disease Control, last year, in this flu season we basically had, it's just coming to an end, almost 20,000 Americans died. There are similarities between COVID-19, coronavirus, and the flu in terms of symptoms. Respiratory issues, some have fever, breathing issues, and the severity depends on the patient's age and immune system. So those are very similar. So what's the difference? Let's be very clear at the outset. If anyone tells you the coronavirus is no different than the flu, they are either uninformed or they're lying to you, because it's not. It's not even close. It's not the bubonic plague either. Anyone tells you it's the end of the world, that's completely wrong as well. Where is in between? Here is the problem. Here's the reality. And I will, when I cite some quotes here or statistics, I will tell you the source I got it from today, so you can go look it up if you want to learn more. I find learning more of the facts brings me a level of comfort. It makes things less uncertain. Even though I'm learning more about we are uncertain, I feel a sense of being informed and that it's not this kind of unknown cloud coming, like in a movie, like in World War Z, where the zombies are coming. It's not that. And no one should think that. Here's the reality. After numerous articles I read by scientists, here's the bottom line. The flu is life-threatening. Americans die every year from the flu. Thousands of Americans die. The difference is we know a lot about the flu. As some experts pointed out, I thought it was really interesting, many have built up an immunity to certain strains of the flu because we've been exposed to it and gotten sick. There is a vaccine for the flu. The problem is with this COVID-19, or they're now even calling it severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2, is brand new. It's a wild card to scientists. Doctors, scientists, health experts, the WHO, they're uncertain where this is going. And that's where the concern lies for all of us. I think sometimes knowing the fact there is that unknown, that uncertainty, I'm hoping it, on some level, at least for me, it brings a sense of like, okay, we're all in this together. We don't know exactly what's going on. There's no vaccine for it. They're hoping by 6 months to a year or to a year and a half. No one knows for sure. Transmission. It is similar to the flu, yet different. Like the flu, it's transmission is very simple, very easy. And it can be through droplets. Someone coughs and sneezes, you touch it. it gets in the air, it touches your finger from someone sneezing at you, and their droplets fall on you, and you touch your face, and bingo, you got it. We all know that. That's like the cold. Here's what they don't know. First of all, New England Journal of Medicine, I'm citing right from them, said today that the COVID-19, the coronavirus, reaches peak infectiousness shortly after people start feeling sick, spreading in a manner of like the flu. A study published in a Journal of American Medical Association chronicled the case of a 20-year-old woman in Wuhan, China. She infected 5 relatives, had not one sign of the illness. And there's where the uncertainty is. You could have someone who feels, looks, everything about them is fine. But with this virus, they're making you sick. They're making people sick. So we know this. We know this level of transmission is slightly different than the flu. They're saying the flu, yes, you can transmit it if you have no symptoms, but you're infected. But later you're going to get the flu. There are people who have COVID-19, coronavirus, will never get the symptoms. It doesn't like, it might incubate, but just never manifest. And they're making others sick. Here is the most troubling part of the COVID-19. And this is the most alarming part. But I'm going to read you exactly some quotes here from doctors so you know exactly what's going on here. According to Johns Hopkins, the difference from the flu to the COVID-19, and this is extremely important, this might not just spread through droplets from someone's nose when they sneeze or when they cough and it goes in the air and touches your skin. This might be spread through airborne transmission. And what I mean, and it's actually different, and I'll quote, here's a Dr. Lisa Margargas, to Senior Director of Infection Prevention at Johns Hopkins Medical School, Baltimore. It's a renowned school. I'll read her quote. While both the flu and COVID-19 may be transmitted in similar ways, there is a possible difference. COVID-19 might be spread through the airborne route, meaning that tiny droplets remaining in the air could cause diseases in others even after the ill person is no longer near. Close quotes. So I'm going to read that last part because this is the most concerning, and this might make some sense for what we're seeing in the world right now. COVID-19 spreads like the flu. You get that. Someone coughs right in front of you. They sneeze in front of you. It's like, they got a droplet on me. You can't see it. It gets on your fingers. You touch your nose. You touch your face. You got it. But this might be airborne, meaning that person could sneeze and then leave the area and be gone. And later, and we don't know how long it lives in the air, later, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, we don't know. You happen to walk into that cloud that you can't see, a virus that's there, and then you get sick. The bubonic plague, and I hate to even bring it up, that's one of the ways it spread. It was called the pneumonic plague. That's the actual technical term when it became airborne virus. It also spread through animals and lice and other things. But one of the ways these viruses that become real plagues spread is through the airborne route. They do not know, just so it's 100% clear, they do not know for sure that is how it spreads. But they do have concerns that might be the way it's spreading. And that might explain what we're seeing now in that the Prime Minister of Italy, Giuseppe Conte, goes from quarantining 16 million to his entire country because perhaps the healthcare experts are laying out scenarios going, well, this could be like the flu. Here's this. Or this could really be like an airborne virus that remains in the air when there's no sick people there, so you don't even know. And you walk through it, you breathe it in, or the virus touches your nose or your face, and you get it. So what he does is over-respond to keep people safe. In Israel today, the Prime Minister there, Netanyahu, announced, again, something not as invasive as this, but still stunningly different. If you go to Israel now, citizens or not, they won't let you in the country for 14 days. You have to stay in some facilities when you land on a plane for 14 days to watch everybody, citizens, visitors, everybody. That's far from the normal course of business in the season of flu. That's what we know. I mean, and Giuseppe Conte, the Prime Minister of Italy, last night said, we are facing a national emergency. And as the Washington Post and others reported, that Italy was in the short term sacrificing their economy for long-term ravages of the virus to prevent it. In Italy, yesterday, horrible jump, 24% jump in people who have the virus to 9,170. That's the biggest daily jump anywhere outside of China. Now 463 are dead. So you might ask, so what about the death rate compared to the flu in this? Again, anyone tells you this is exactly like the flu, they don't know the information or they're lying to you. And I'm not sure which is worse. The truth is that the flu, 0.1% death rate. I'm not going to tell you how many times more the coronavirus is because I'm not great at math, as I've learned from people emailing me. I'll just give you the mortality rate of this and you can do your own multiplication. But just so it's clear, death rate of the flu, seasonal flu, 0.1%. Not 1%, 0.1%. The coronavirus, they said now, experts at WHO say it's 3.4%. But after I did more reading today of many experts, they believe that number is going to actually be lower at some point. We don't know what. It could be 1.5%. It could be 2%. It could be 1%. There's different studies going on, but it's the uncertainty. But what they do know is based on age, you can get a sense of what's going on here. According to today's reporting, there's been no deaths reported of anyone with a mild case. So if you get a mild case, you're going to survive. You're going to be fine. No deaths incurred in anyone 9 or younger. So children are beating this easily. 9 and under, no problem. Here's the bad side. 70 to 79 years old, 8% fatality rate. Over 80 and above, 14.8%, so around 15% mortality rate, which is horribly off the charts. If you get a critical, if you have this and you have a severe case of this, and that's technically defined by doctors, critical, the mortality rate, alarmingly, is 49%. So it was interesting. Italy, I would try to find the numbers of the ages that people have died because they've had so many, and it's more than China. It's a Western democracy. They're going to share the numbers. I can't find them all. What I did find in articles saying that mostly the people who died were over 50. That's what they used, 50. I'm like, so there were people in their 50s dying as well, in 60s, and some below that. But most were older. How will this end? The Washington Post makes it very clear. An expert today in the Washington Post, this virus can do anything it wants. That pattern and how it's going to spread is completely unknown. And when you see these experts over and over and over, they come back to this, we are not sure. This is a new virus. We have not seen this before. We have studied other viruses. We've studied the flu. We don't know where this is going. We don't know fully how it transmits. We don't know fully the mortality rate. But we do know without any doubt this is more lethal than the flu. We know it transmits at a very high rate, and we don't know why. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate that there's a component to this that is airborne, meaning it sits in the air even when nobody's there and you walk through it and you get the virus. That could end up being the case. We don't know, but those are the facts. That's what we do know. There's no doubt about it. And in America, we'll find out. I mean, the mayor of New York said today that there's no plans to do anything extreme, closing schools. A couple of colleges closed today, Columbia University and Barnard, but that was because of testing that was positive. But he's not ruling anything out in the future. That's the facts. Now let's talk the politics. Donald Trump spent the weekend playing golf while a global pandemic is building. Playing golf with his wealthy friends and donors. If he just did that, I'd be, it's a little out of touch, but you want to do that? Fine. But before he played golf, Friday, he lied to the American people. And this is what's inexcusable. He lied. The reason we don't know more Americans are sick is because of the incompetence of the Trump administration. And what I mean by that, they didn't get the test kits out like they promised. So we didn't do the widespread testing that doctors want. So first of all, here is Mike Pence. I dislike Mike Pence so much. But at least on Thursday, when he was asked, do we have the test kits? He was honest with the American people and said, we don't have the test kits we need. Here's clip number 5. We'll go down to Nina.
But fair to say right now, you still don't have enough.
We don't have enough tests today to meet what we anticipate will be the demand going forward.
Kind of, at the end there, kind of shaded a little bit, but he was being honest. We don't have the test kits we need today. And then Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is an expert, he's part of the administration, 30 years, infectious expert, was on Thursday night, even later than Mike Pence. Thursday night with CNN, making it very clear they're hoping to get out 75,000 kits soon. They have not. And that we need, you ready for this? How many kits he believes, this expert? Millions of kits. Millions. I'll play the clip so you can hear him directly. And as a reminder, as of Friday, the government has tested 1,900 people. Dr. Fauci said we need millions. Let's hear clip number 6, Dr. Fauci.
Actually, let me just follow up on that. In terms of you said by the end of the week. Do you mean like tomorrow or do you mean Sunday? And how many tests you say will be out there available by then?
Well, what they are telling us, what the CDC and the FDA is saying, that by the end of the week, the beginning of next week, they should be able to get 75,000 tests out there. And by the following week, they could get up to 1 million tests out there. That's the plan. That's what we're hearing.
I don't want to belabor this. I know you've answered this a lot, but how many tests are we going to need, Dr. Fauci? You heard from South Korea, over 100,000 tests have been performed. How do we really get an idea of what's happened here in the States, how widespread this is?
Sanjay, you and I have discussed that in the past, and I've been an advocate of much more proactive testing. Not only testing when physicians ask for a test, but testing to determine where we are and what level is under the radar. And for that reason, we're going to need millions and millions and millions of tests. That's what I feel.
So you heard exactly, we need millions of tests. Why? Why do you want to test so broadly? So that people who have no symptoms, but who are infectious, because that's been definitely known, that's definitely clear, don't go to work, don't go to school. Even though they're showing no symptoms, they feel great, but they're tested because someone in their building, someone at their work has it. They test everyone. They go, wow, you have no symptoms, but you tested positive, so you're infectious. Stay home. They don't know that. They're not doing anything wrong. They have no symptoms. As I mentioned to you, the Journal of American Medical Association documented a woman in Wuhan, China, got 5 people sick, never got the symptoms. Never got the symptoms. That's why you do widespread testing. So it's clear there's not enough tests. What does Trump say Friday? Listen to this lie. Listen to him lie to the American people about something that deals with life and death, literally life and death. Clip number 2, please.
Anybody right now and yesterday, anybody that needs a test gets a test. They're there. They have the tests. And the tests are beautiful. Anybody that needs a test gets a test. That's a lie.
That is an intentional lie. You heard Mike Pence the night before Dr. Fauci. We don't have the tests. We don't have the tests. There's no debate. There's no spin. This is real life. This isn't politics. This is life and death. 1,900 people were tested by Friday. Now we know more are being tested. The CDC said over the weekend, more tests went out. Kits went out. Do you want to know how little test kits we have? Do you know in Washington State, the nursing home where 13 people have died, that's the epicenter? On Saturday, there was an article in the New York Times where the head of that place said, we still have employees and residents here that we cannot test because they have not given us the kits. Think about how horrific that is. They are living and working among people who are sick, some who have died, and some who are healthy. And they can't test the other 60 people because they were missing 60 kits. That's all they needed. That's how much lies. So why? And I think the question comes down to why the test kits didn't go out. Simply incompetence? Was it? Because, by the way, folks, there was a World Health Organization test that Trump didn't want to use. He wanted the test to be manufactured in America. Was that part of America First to help pharmaceutical companies, to give them this big test kit to work on so he could make money and make sure they give him good donations? We're not sure. Did he not press to get the test because he wanted to keep the numbers down so he can keep saying, hey, there's only a few numbers. Look how the great numbers are. And if you think that's ridiculous to say that, listen to Trump Friday about why he didn't want the cruise ship filled with 3,500 people, mostly Americans, on our shores. Why? He wanted to keep the numbers low. And here's clip number 3 from Friday.
They would like to have the people come off. I'd rather have the people stay, but I'd go with them. I told them to make the final decision. I would rather, because I like the numbers being where they are. I don't need to have the numbers double because of one ship. That wasn't our fault.
He wanted to keep the numbers low. And this morning, I won't even read a lot of his garbage just to give you a sense of what's going on. A continued campaign by Donald Trump of misinformation and lying to the American people. Because we all know this. Donald Trump's calculation is what helps Donald Trump. What helps him personally, what helps him financially, what helps him politically. In this case, making this seem like it's not concerning to anybody, telling everyone it's just the flu and having his base repeat that, makes it seem like it's just fine. And the stock market prices will stay up. So this morning he tweeted the fake news media and their partner, the Democratic Party, is doing everything in its considerable power to inflame the coronavirus situation. Then he said the Surgeon General said the risk is low to the average American. Yeah, the risk of death is low, not of catching it. It's very simple. Add to that ridiculousness, here is the Surgeon General destroying his credibility on national TV Sunday. Jerome Adams, Surgeon General, he's 45, and here he says, just to make Trump happy who's watching, Trump is healthier than I am. Clip number 4, please.
If people are going to go out there, we want them to be extra cautious. We want them to wash their hands frequently. And I was with the president on Friday, and I just said, sir, when's the last time you've washed your hands? And he said, I washed my hands just a few minutes ago. We want to make sure if folks are out there who are at risk, they're taking extra precautions. But speaking of being at risk, the president, he sleeps less than I do, and he's healthier than what I am.
He's not healthier than you. You're 45 years old. Donald Trump's a 73-year-old obese man. Trump retweeted that clip. He was so happy that the Surgeon General said he was healthier than a 45-year-old Surgeon General. So he has no credibility, unfortunately. Everyone tied to this administration has no credibility. And then Donald Trump again tweeted today saying last year 37,000 Americans died from the common flu. Numbers seem to be a little lower than that, but in any event, he's just trying to, and then he says, at this moment, there's 546 confirmed cases of coronavirus. Well, now we're at 690. And to remind you, on February 26th, Donald Trump said there are only 15 cases, and within a few days, it's going down to 0. Since that statement on February 26th, we've gone from 15 cases to nearly 700. And the minute this widespread testing happens, we're going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of cases. Do not be concerned. That's normal. If they had started the testing last week or 10 days ago when they should have, we may have peaked already. We may have had 20,000 cases and be on the other side of it because people would have been putting people who are sick, who are not symptomatic, staying home from work, staying home from school, not going on mass transit. Instead, Donald Trump didn't do that. Trump administration let us down. People who are sick have been going to work. They've been spreading the virus. I don't know if this is going to explode or not. I'm not a doctor. You know, about 10 days ago, if you recall, I talked about Italy when they had it just in the north. And I said Italy might be the test case. They're going to try to do some serious ways to clamp down and not let this spread. And that is also a Western democracy. It might be instructive for us. It went horrifically wrong in Italy. So maybe there's lessons we can take. But, you know, Donald Trump's concerned about the stock market. Well, today the stock market closed down over 2,000 points, down 7.7% today. Add that to the 12% it's gone down the last 2 weeks. It's a 20% loss in the stock market. I don't really care about that. I care about people's health. The stock market will come back. But Donald Trump again misleading his supporters who will say things online to me on Twitter and on Facebook. This is just like the flu and cite the numbers he gives you. Let me ask you, last time there was a seasonal flu, did we keep a cruise ship of 3,500 Americans off the coast of America like we're doing now? They just docked a short time ago, but we kept them off the coast for days. The last time there was a seasonal flu outbreak, did the country of Italy quarantine 60 million people? The last time there was a seasonal flu outbreak, did we have advisories from the State Department telling Americans not to go to certain countries and banning foreign nationals who travel to other countries for a normal flu? Did Israel not allow anyone on their soil for 14 days until they've been monitored for 14 days in a quarantine last time there was a seasonal flu? No. That's a lie. Why Trump is lying? You know, you can always assume it has to do with his own inner workings. It helps Donald Trump. Where this is going, I don't know. I don't want people to be afraid. I don't want you to panic. You shouldn't panic. The problem is we don't know where this is going. And we're not going to play it at a White House task force briefing. Donald Trump should just shut his mouth and stop talking. He's got to be, no, it should only be health experts speaking. That's it. And you know what? His approval ratings would go up. Instead, they're sliding. They've been sliding the last week. New poll today, Quinnipiac, 49% of Americans disapprove of the way he's handling this, 43% approve, 50% of independents disapprove. That number is probably going to creep up as they start hearing more and more about Donald Trump's lies. I will tell you, Trump's lies and incompetence in handling the coronavirus are going to get good people killed. That's the reality. This is not the Ukraine. This is not impeachment. Hoax is not a defense. Perfect call is not a defense. Doing the right thing for the American people, meaning shutting your mouth and letting the world, the experts speak and lead this, is the right thing for a president to do. But not Trump. And this is where we're stuck with. And do you want 4 more years of this horrific, vile incompetence? No, of course not. So let's take a break. I want to hear from you. 866-997-4748. You know, tomorrow's a big primary as well. If you want to talk about the election, it's not just coronavirus show, but this does. First, I want to give people the facts and update. Then, of course, talk about the politics of it. What do you think the politics of this might be in the long run? I mean, the concern right now is keeping Americans safe. You know, on my view, I actually think on some level it helped Joe Biden in Super Tuesday, and it's poised to help him tomorrow. And that people, for right or for wrong, this is not an endorsement. I like Bernie a great deal. I think everyone knows that. I like Joe Biden a great deal. But I think the intangible helped Biden here on all of this. So 866-997-4748. Give me a call. I'll be right back after this.
The Dean Obeidallah Show.
Voting is the most important civil right of our era because the right to vote preserves all other rights. It's not the Second Amendment. It's not guns. It's voting.
Sirius XM Progress.